A Nexus-Pixel phone history, and I'm going to conclude it with the Pixel Saga. Now, you can go on my website to see this and follow up all I went with this. So, let's talk about the Pixel. So, the first Pixel, the Pixel XL, it was made by HTC. And basically, all they did was take a retread of the HTC One A and made it into the Pixel. Basically, Google went to HTC and said, "Look, we wanted to come out with a Pixel phone or our phone that really signifies the brand that we're trying to put out there. Basically, we're trying to have a flagship that can compete with Apple, it can compete with Samsung, and we wanted to be able to commercialize it more than we did with the Nexus brand. Basically, we want to make made by Google mean something, and we need you guys to produce a phone for us. And when we do put this out there, we will have the partnership with Verizon, as it will be exclusive to Verizon, and they really feel like it can do something with it. And the first Pixel, even though I didn't pick it up, and I will tell you my reason for it, I do like what they was trying to do with it. You know, it had I like the look of it, the back, that glass look, especially on the top. It just had a way about itself where it separated itself from the masses. It really looked like a phone that was worth picking up. In fact, I do have a Pixel now because I ended up buying a Google Pixel almost like a year or two last year. And I bought it because I just wanted something to test Google's upcoming beta software on. And that's what I got it for. And overall, you know, I can understand why people gravitate to the device then. My issue at the time, and it continues to be an issue I continue to have with Google, is the simple fact that, well, when the Pixel came out, you had Samsung and Apple not only gravitating to less bezel and having more glass on their screen, but they were going to water resistance. And you didn't have that on a Google Pixel. And for a phone that was selling at a flagship level, competing with those as far as price point with those two companies, for it to be missing that, I felt like, well, why would I pay for a phone that missed those two features? Now, when this phone came out, they kind of wanted to pair this with their Google VR glasses, which at the time Google felt that VR may be something that they wanted to latch on to. It may actually do something in the market. So Google was really wanting to get in our hardware business, and they wanted to say, look, made by Google, we can put out some good hardware out there. And they paired it with a lot of devices they were going out there. And you're still seeing that today, whether it be their assistants. We're starting to see their assistants become displays. So they're really trying to do more in the hardware business. And for them, it's a good way to kind of show off their platform, especially their software, in a way where they can really use that to put to the market. So this is what we're working on, and it makes sense. So after the Pixel, they decided to continue on, and we kind of see this evolved into the Pixel 2 XL. Now, real quick, before I go to the Pixel 2 XL, I wanted to make sure I highlight one thing in particular. Now, even though there were some criticism with Google's Pixel and Pixel XL, they kind of benefited from the simple fact it came out the same time as the Note 7. Because the Note 7 had the issue with catching fire and it being banned. That actually overshadowed a lot of what Google was doing. So the simple fact that even though people may have complained, like me, that it had way too much bezel, it didn't have water resistance, well, the simple fact that you just wiped the Note 7 off the market, basically by default, Google's Pixel ended up rising above being, those considered the top smartphone of that year because of that. But let's go ahead and go to the Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL. So we had to enter the Pixel 2 and 2 XL. And Google, in some ways, did try to improve on what the complaints were. In other ways, I almost feel like they were kind of, rubbing our noses in it. For the Pixel 2, they decided to go even more bezel and make it like a huge chin and all that. But for the Pixel 2 XL, they did make a phone that hardware-wise looked much better. In fact, overall, the Pixel 2 XL had the opportunity to be the best phone that year. I mean, it was a solid device. It felt good as far as how smooth it was, how it performed. It just had the issue with the display. It had the blue tint, which a lot of people were able to get around, but it also had that dull color, and people was complaining about finding dead pixels on the display. And as a result, Google actually extended the warranty for it for another year because of all the criticism that came from the Pixel 2 XL. Now, the Pixel 2 XL was made by LG, whereas the Pixel 2 was made by HTC, continuing on what they had did with the Pixel and Pixel XL, which were made by HTC. The irony, which ironic to here, is that had Google relied on Samsung for the display on the Pixel 2 XL, just like they did with HTC, I don't think you would have had the same criticism and same backlash as they did with the Pixel 2 XL. But they didn't. And even though the Pixel 2 XL aesthetically, Google got it right, they didn't get it right when it came to the most important part, and that's the display. Something that people are going to look at over and over again. And then here we get to the Pixel 3 and 3 XL. This is my problem continuing with Google, is the simple fact that we are continuing to see a problem where they're just, when it comes to hardware, it's like they're not with the times. It's like they almost like a year behind with their hardware, and we're continuing to see that. With the upcoming Pixels. Now with the Pixel 3 XL, this was a year, and I talked about it a lot on my channel and on the website, where OnePlus had came out with the OnePlus 6T last year and had all up to 8 to 10 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes of RAM on their phone, and was half the price of a lot of the leading smartphones out there, with the only complaint people had was the camera. And with the Pixel 3 XL, even though you had really the only thing on that phone that made sense was the camera. Basically, all they did was take the Pixel 2 XL, the exact same phone, put a giant notch in there, and that was it. Supposedly it's improved the display, and even though you didn't have that blue tint, the display still kind of felt dark, and it really wasn't vibrant, and then kind of, especially when you have other phones to compare with, it felt like, and still feel that way, because it just felt lacking. And honestly, the Pixel 3 XL was not the better phone. In fact, the better phone this year is proven to be the Pixel 3a and 3a XL, because price-wise, it makes sense. And as we get to the Pixel 4 and Pixel 4 XL, I'm really hoping that Google pay attention to the complaints that people have with their hardware. The problem is, I don't think they are. And because of that, I don't think we're going to continue to get a device that's worth continue to invest in, especially when, again, you have the lesser models, the A and A XL models that are out there. It's like, if you have the option between that and a flagship model, to me, those are the better buy, because my issue with Google remains the same. If they don't have the heart to provide flagship level hardware for their flagship level phones, they should not be in the flagship business. And right now, the simple fact that they're trying to be in the flagship business, but they're not wanting to put flagship level hardware, flagship level RAM, flagship level displays. They basically want to get around with, we got the best software, so you should be okay with it. That is no longer the case anymore. Because as much as I talk about Google software, and that being the thing that should be attractive to people out there, as far as those who are big into Android, before I would tell people, especially the no phone, that if you really want to experience the best of Google software, you need a Google Pixel. I can't say that anymore, because my OnePlus 7 Pro software-wise is better than my Pixel 3 XL. Period. Even with the camera being a difference, well, now that I can sideload Google's camera to my Pixel 7 Pro, the difference is to the point where I can get around that. And if I'm someone who really want the Google's camera, I'm really wanting that, well, I might well save my money and pick up the Pixel 3a. and I have a camera and still have a phone that performs where I want it to be as far as a flagship level. And even to those who I may bring up, those Samsung fans, telling them that you should check out Google's software. If they was asked a question, well, tell me, and I actually had someone ask this question to me, as I would tell them that, well, on my current Pixel, I'm running Google's Android 10, something that they wasn't running. And they asked the question, so tell me, what about 10 that is worth me checking out? What on this software is worth me giving up this great hardware to check out? And to be honest with you, I didn't have an answer. It's not like I can say, or the theme manager, because they don't have one. And quite frankly, OnePlus have a better theme manager than them, and they're not really having much of a theme manager. So I can't use that. Maybe their call screen app, but that's already available on the Pixel 3, and you can get that on the Pixel 3a if you want it. So honestly, there is nothing in Android 10 right now that I can tell someone that you really need to check out Android 10. Now, yes, I'm pretty sure when version 10 do drop, we will see a lot of under the hood stuff. We will see some tweaks that'll be, welcome for Android. But the honest reality is that you're going to get those same tweaks and stuff with other manufacturers. So if other manufacturers are going to eventually adopt Android 10, and it's coming, is it really worth giving up the lesser hardware of Google in favor of their software? Or let me rephrase that. Is it really worth forsaking the better hardware out there and a Samsung and a OnePlus for Google software? And until Google can prove that their software is really worth that, especially since we know that these other manufacturers are going to pick it up, the answer is no. And that is the problem that we're going to continue to have with Google until they adopt the practice of bringing the flagship level hardware and really going out there and producing hardware that people are going to want to buy, hardware that really competes. It's kind of hard to tell someone that, yeah, you should give up what you have for stock Android anymore. Because the reality, there are companies who are doing stock Android better than what Google is doing. And if you have companies that are able to do stock Android better than what you are doing, and that is supposed to be your stick of why people should come to you, it makes people wonder, why are you here? Why do you exist? And I had to ask that question. Playing with the OnePlus 7 Pro this week, I felt like they did a better job or gave me a better version of stock Android than what Google gave me. And why did I ever need to pick up my Pixel 3? Why does my Pixel 3 XL, why is it here? I know the camera's better, but how often am I needing that great camera over just what I have now? And is that great camera that much better than what I can do with the OnePlus 7 Pro? Especially when I can use some of these photo editing apps to improve in whatever area I need to use. That's the question that we're going to battle with as we continue to get closer and closer to the release of the Pixel 4 and the Pixel 4 XL. And this is something that Google really needs to take to heart. Because if they're really wanting to get this flagship business, they're really wanting to make Made by Google mean something, it needs to have the backing that shows that Made by Google means something. Because people are no longer dumb to what's going on in the market. Even those who are not big into tech have ways of knowing what is considered good and what is not. What is worth buying, what is not. What is the better buy, what is not. And with more people putting this information out there, and more people able to get this information easily, it makes sense why people are less likely to pick up your device. Especially when, well, the thing you're supposed to be good at, you're no longer doing better than the competition. This is the Next Up Podcast. Thank you for joining me for yet another week. I enjoy continuing to bring content to you every week, especially involving consumer tech, smartphones, and thank you for all you who are listening and those who listen later. Continue to, again, follow me on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and now TuneIn Radio. Have a good week. I'm out.